I had $800 at 22. Normal job, normal salary, no inheritance. But before I turned 30, I had saved $200,000. Warren Buffett once said, "Do not save what is left after spending. Spend what is left after saving." That one line changed everything for me. Habit 4 saved me $24,000 from one decision. Habit 11 is a 10-minute conversation 90% of people never have. And habit 15, the one that actually made all of this possible, nobody talks about it. I don't know why. It's not your salary that makes you rich. It's your spending habits. Full breakdown in the video. Watch it, your future self will thank you. Let me be brutally honest with you. I didn't come from money, no inheritance, no rich uncle, no lucky crypto bet. I had a normal job, a normal salary, and a normal life, and yet, by the time I turned 30, I had quietly crossed $200,000 in savings. And here's the thing nobody tells you. It wasn't one big move. It wasn't some viral hustle or a six-figure salary. It was 15 small, boring, almost embarrassing habits I stuck to, day after day, year after year, while everyone around me was upgrading their apartments and eating out 5 nights a week. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain on every single one. Stick with me until the end, because habits 13, 14, and 15 are the ones almost nobody talks about, and they're the reason the math actually worked. At 22, I had $800 in my bank account and student debt. My starting salary felt decent until rent, groceries, and just one more subscription had quietly eaten most of it before the 10th of every month. I remember opening my banking app and feeling that specific sick feeling where you're not broke, but you're not okay either. You're just surviving. So I started obsessing over personal finance. Not the flashy stuff, the quiet, unglamorous compound effect kind. I read every book I could find. I studied people who built real wealth on ordinary incomes. And then I started testing habits one by one on my own life. Some made my friends raise their eyebrows. But over 8 years, they added up to something I never thought possible, $200,000 before 30. Here's exactly how. I cooked 90% of my meals at home. I know you've heard this before, but hear the number first. The average person eating out or ordering delivery spends $400, $600 a month on food. I got my grocery bill down to $180, $220 by cooking almost every meal at home. That's $300 a month saved. $3,600 a year. Over 8 years, nearly $29,000 before investment growth. The secret wasn't willpower. It was Sunday batch cooking. 2 hours every Sunday. Proteins prepped, grains cooked, vegetables roasted, everything portioned. Suddenly eating at home wasn't a chore, it was just opening the fridge. I had 8 rotating go-to meals. Nothing Instagram-worthy. Just reliable. Cheap food that kept me out of Uber Eats at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. I brought lunch to work every single day. $12 for lunch near the office sounds reasonable. It's $2,400 a year. 200 workdays times $12, $2,400. Gone. Every year. Just from lunch, I started packing leftovers from the night before. Real food I actually looked forward to, not a sad desk salad. Within the first month, I had an extra $200 sitting in my account that hadn't been there before. That was the first time I truly understood how fast small daily habits compound. I negotiated my rent before every renewal. Most tenants don't negotiate. They just accept whatever number the landlord sends. Here's what I learned. A landlord with a reliable, on-time tenant has a massive incentive to keep you. Finding someone new means listing fees, a vacancy period, and uncertainty. You have more leverage than you think. Before every lease renewal, I pulled comparable rentals in the area and asked politely but directly. Sometimes I got a reduction. Sometimes I got it frozen. Once I saved $150 a month, $1 $800 a year. From a 10-minute conversation, the worst they can say is no. I had a housemate for 4 years. This was the single highest impact housing decision I made in my entire 20s. I lived with a housemate from 23 to 27. We split a 2-bedroom instead of me renting a 1-bedroom alone. The difference was $500 a month. $500 times 12 times 4 years, $24,000 saved from one decision. If you're defaulting to living alone without running the numbers, you might be paying a premium you've never consciously decided to pay. I tracked every purchase in a spreadsheet, not to punish myself, just to see every purchase: coffee, gas, online orders, logged in a simple spreadsheet. Category, amount, date. Nothing fancy. 3 months in, something wild appeared. A cluster of subscriptions and auto-renewing services, totally over $180 a month, I had completely forgotten about. Apps I hadn't opened in a year. A streaming service I thought I'd canceled. A premium tier I'd never used, $180 a month. Gone. Every month. Invisible until I looked. Tracking didn't restrict me. It made the invisible visible. I waited 72 hours before any non-essential purchase. This is probably the highest ROI habit on this entire list relative to how easy it is to implement. Whenever I wanted something non-essential, clothes, gadgets, anything, I put it in a list and waited 72 hours. About 60 to 70% of the time, I didn't buy it. The urge just evaporated. I'd look at the item 3 days later and genuinely not understand why I'd wanted it so badly. The remaining 30 to 40%, I bought those things without guilt because I'd confirmed I actually wanted them. The 72-hour rule is a filter. It kills impulse spending and lets real spending through. I automated savings on payday, the most important structural habit on this list. I set up an automatic transfer to savings and investments the same day my paycheck arrived. Not after bills. Not after seeing what was left. The same day, I started at 10% of take-home, then 15, then 20. By my late 20s, I was saving 35–40%. Not because my salary had skyrocketed, but because my lifestyle had barely moved while my income grew. If the money moves automatically before you see it, you stop thinking of it as available. And once you can't see it, you stop missing it. I never carried credit card debt, ever non-negotiable. Credit card interest runs 18 to 25% APR in most countries. Carrying a balance doesn't just cost money, it mathematically destroys the returns you're trying to build on the investment side. You cannot outinvest 22% interest. It's arithmetic. I use credit cards only as a payment tool for the rewards and purchase protections. Every balance, every month, paid in full. Without exception, if you have credit card debt right now, paying it off is the single highest return financial move available to you. Guaranteed 20% plus return, risk-free, zero market risk. I did a quarterly subscription audit every 3 months. I sat down with my bank statements and went through every recurring charge. Do I still use this? Do I need it? Is there a cheaper option? Can I share this with someone? Every quarter, without fail, I found something to cancel. Not because I was careless, but because subscriptions accumulate quietly and companies make cancellation difficult by design. Average savings per audit, $40–$80. Annual savings, $160–$320. Small, but automatic. I never bought a brand new car when I eventually needed a car. I bought certified pre-owned with about 0 miles on it. New cars lose 15 to 20% of their value the moment you drive off the lot. In year 1, that's thousands in pure depreciation you absorb immediately. A 2-year-old car with low miles gives you nearly all the reliability with none of that hit. I paid cash after saving for it, paid 0 interest, and drove it for 6 years without a single major issue. I asked for a raise every 12 to 18 months. Here's the uncomfortable truth the frugality world sometimes avoids. You cannot cut your way to wealth alone. The income side matters enormously, and the single highest leverage thing most employed people can do is negotiate their salary consistently. I prepared for every raise conversation for weeks. I documented specific wins, quantified my impact, researched market rates, and walked in with a number backed by data, not just a feeling. I got a raise in almost every conversation. Not always the full amount I asked for, but always something. A $5,000 raise doesn't just give you $5,000 this year. It gives you $5, zero more every year going forward, a higher base for the next negotiation, and more to invest. Compounding for decades. It is the highest ROI conversation you will ever have. I took on one freelance project per year, not a side hustle grind, not a second job. One deliberate project per year, using skills I already had, a branding project, a consulting engagement, a weekend workshop, the rule. 100% of that money went straight into investments. Never touched the lifestyle budget. Never treated myself with it. It was earmarked before it arrived. Over 8 years, that added $8,000, $30,000 to my portfolio. Money completely separate from my salary. I invested in index funds every month without timing the market every month, regardless of headlines. Regardless of how the market felt, low-cost, diversified index funds. Same amount, same day, every month. No stock picking, no waiting for a better entry point. This is dollar cost averaging, the most boring and most effective long-term investment strategy available to ordinary people. Market dropped? I bought. Market was up? I bought. Economy felt scary? I bought anyway. Boredom is the secret ingredient in long-term investing. I chose free entertainment as my default, not my last resort. Parks, hiking, library books, free museum days, potlucks instead of restaurants, board game nights, community events. I didn't feel deprived. Some of the best memories of my 20s cost almost nothing. The difference was intention, choosing free things because they were genuinely good. Not because I was too cheap to spend money. When I did spend on entertainment, a trip, a concert, a nice dinner, it felt meaningful rather than automatic annual savings versus default spending. Roughly $1,000, $1,500. I kept my lifestyle completely flat for 5 years. This is the habit that tied everything else together, and it's the one almost nobody talks about. Every time I got a raise, and I got several, I did not upgrade my life. Same apartment, same car, same food budget, same everything. The raise went directly into savings and investments. This is called avoiding lifestyle inflation, and it is the actual cheat code that nobody discusses because it requires social resistance most of us were never taught. When you earn more, everyone around you expects you to spend more. Nicer place, nicer clothes, nicer restaurants. It feels strange not to. But here's what I understood early. The gap between what you earn and what you spend is where wealth lives. Widen that gap every time your income rises, and the compounding math becomes almost inevitable. I didn't feel like I was suffering. I was intentional. I knew exactly what I was building and why. And at 30, I had $200,000 to show for it. You don't need to do all 15 of these perfectly. Nobody does. I certainly didn't. What matters is picking 3 or 4 that fit your life, doing them consistently, and not stopping. The compounding effect works on habits the same way it works on money. Slowly, then suddenly, if you're in your 20s right now, you have something I can't give back: time. Money invested at 23 is worth approximately double what the same money invested at 33 will be worth at retirement. Every year you wait is expensive in a way that's hard to see until it's behind you. Start with one habit, add another, then another. The first $200,000 is the hardest. After that, the math starts working for you instead of against you. If this helped you, share it with someone who needs it more than you do. That's the most frugal thing you can do with good information. Pass it on for free.